Yo, what's going on, guys? Arekkz here. Whole team here today. Back, joined by Shadowmains again. Thank you for joining us. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me again.
It's good to have you back. Good to, hopefully for you guys that caught the last discussion, you will know that Shadowmains jumped in. If you haven't checked it out, I will again link his channel, his stuff down below. But today, we're back with a discussion, and you guys have been saying, can we talk about Monster Hunter Stories 2? So today, we thought we'd talk about both games, talk about some Monster Hunter Rise stuff. I want to talk about like rampage skills, talk about some things that we would like to see, upcoming May update, and also current topic, which tends to be sort of the save related stuff around Talisman. Plus, I want to talk about some of the Monster Hunter Stories 2 stuff. There's obviously a lot right now. But yeah, we thought we'd just kind of chat about a load of topics today. So hope you guys enjoy that. But where do we want to begin? Where do we want to begin? Let's begin with rampage skills. What 26? You threw this in yesterday. You were like, let's talk about rampage skills, like how we want to sort of see them, what we like about them, and how we want to sort of see them change. Because I think there's some interesting scope in here to sort of add some fun mechanics that maybe we don't see on regular armor skills. So like, what's your stance on this to begin with, or kind of what were you sort of thinking with this?
My stance is, I talk way too much in these. Hand it off to somebody else. Shadowmains, what's your stance on rampage skills? I know that you like them. Go on.
To be honest with you, I think they could be a little bit better than what they are. Like, I don't feel like they're powerful enough to go out of your way to really put into a set. It's just kind of like a nice, it's like a cherry on the icing sort of deal. It's just kind of there to make stuff a little bit better. But yeah, I mean, I don't really use them outside of the rampage weapon, and I think I put one on my sleep set, just kind of increase the sleep a little bit when I go into rampages. Because people don't go into those to do the, the tasks to paralyze or sleep the monsters. They're always trying to do the elemental damage and then completely skip that part, so.
True.
I feel that role. I feel that role for you.
See, people were saying that I interrupt too much, but I had to hold myself back because Shadowmains, you're wilding.
I'm wilding? Oh,
you're wilding.
I don't think they're strong enough. I think they could be a little bit better, but I mean, that's just me. I also don't like do rampages a ton, so I don't really dive into those skills too deeply either.
You know that it could be used outside of rampages, right?
I know, but I still don't dive into those skills too much either.
I would definitely say that it's one of those things, because it's in a different menu, it is one of those things that is sometimes kind of easy to forget. Like, I've done it many times where I've crafted a load of weapons and I've been like, oh wait, I forgot to do the rampage thing. So I feel like because it is in a separate menu, in a separate thing, there's definitely there's 2 degrees to it. I would like to see them do more of what they've done with, say, like the dual blade, the claws and things like that. Like, I feel like some weapons have got some really, really interesting, like, game-changing rampage skills, and then other ones are just like a bit more attack. I'm like,
I think they're very useful. I feel like maybe because you guys haven't used enough of them, you don't realize like how game-changing they are. Like Silkbind boost on some of the weapons, specifically like the longsword, takes it like a longsword that isn't necessarily meta into being meta because it does like so much damage. Obviously Hellion, that is one of the best dual blades out there because of its Silkbind boost. On the light bow guns and the heavy bow guns, it literally adds ammo types in it and ammo capacity to it that makes it function above a lot of the weapons in terms of like damage and functionality. So there are a lot more skills. When I brought up this subject, I thought it would be more so like us discussing what type of like skills we would want more like in the vein of Hellion, essentially. But like rampage skills are banging for that reason, and I just want them to be more like Hellion, where it's like there's a bespoke skill for each weapon class. So if you don't know what Hellion is and you haven't tried it out, because I'm sure many of you haven't, because not everybody is a dual blades main and not everybody has delved that deep into the core game systems. Hellion is a rampage skill that gives you, what is it, double damage, right? Or
it's 100% affinity while in any demon mode at the cost of double sharpness loss. So you lose sharpness twice as quick, but you literally have 100% affinity, so you can make an entirely different build that isn't reliant on weakness exploit, critical eye. Your only like focus is really like crit boost, obviously because you're critting on every hit, and then whatever else like works for you, so like attack boost or like stamina management for dual blades and stuff like that. But what I will say is everyone should be familiar with like basically ramp up skills anyway, because they're essentially augments from World.
Mm-hmm.
We lost one really good one that I think everybody loved, which was the health augment, which would basically be like a lifesteal on hit. I think that the difficulty in Rise like isn't there, so it's not like a huge loss, but it was just nice to pair that with like peak performance builds so that you would just keep attacking and you'd be able to like heal up the chip damage that you take and stuff like that. But like you said, you've got skills like Hellion, which is a huge one. Even you mentioned Silkbind boost, you also have like elemental exploit on certain like bows and stuff like that are, you know, really solid for like, you kind of don't have a choice when you're picking between like attack boost to like elemental exploit and then maybe like defense up or whatever it has. It's a way to add something really cool onto already existing weapons, and if they're already willing to go like Hellion 100% crit chance, like crazy stuff like that, every weapon should have like its own like cool ramp up skill, you know, because it seems like there's just a few that have the really good ones, and then majority of them just have like attack boost, element boost, or like I can't remember what the other one is. It's like defense boost or something.
Yeah, maybe this is why my experience has been a little bit different, because I only play the hunting horn, and it's literally just like I got an attack thing that gives me like maybe +3 attack or +6 depending on the level, and then I can increase like my sleep element up by a couple, and then if I'm doing the rampage hunting horn, I think the coolest thing you can do is just kind of change the songs on it, and that's about as far as it's gone.
Yeah, I wish there was more of those unique stuff, and even with the hunting horn, they could like add something so it changes the way that bead of resonance works, or something like that, so that there's more mechanics to that, like, oh, it boosts the damage of bead of resonance every time you do like a shockwave or something. Then it's a completely different playstyle, and you can see that they're attempting to do that, because a lot of like the elder weapons and elder stuff has like rampage skills. So Chameleos has extra poison time, I think, so you double up your time, so it goes from, I think it's 30 seconds to 1 minute, which is kind of huge. And
I think the poison duration is the Chameleos armor set. I think the weapons, they give you like a Spirit Bird like buff.
Oh
randomly.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Okay, cool. But like even in that case, the Spirit Bird buff and what you get and all of that stuff is like a really cool mechanic. With the Teostra one, it adds increased blast damage, so you can hit blast ticks of like over 200 on some monsters, which is actually awesome and makes blast way more viable than usual, and it's just an entertaining thing to watch. I can't remember what the
Kushala
is it's affinity as you're attacking.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't function quite like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. It was actually like, off the top of my head, like someone can remind me in the comments. There was a skill. That was like an armor skill on the Tokka armor set in Generations. That's why I loved it. But it was basically just like continual attacking it's quite nice. I do agree though. I think there's some like super cool concepts in those ones. Like I want to sort of see them do more. I also wish, to be honest, Rampage skills when active had like a visual effect as well, just because I like all the customization stuff. I kind of wish it was like, oh, you put a Rampage thing on your weapon, and then like you get like, I don't know, purple flames around it, or like electric pulsing, like, you know, those you know how like there's an ogre sword.
What you're saying is you want more particles.
I want more particles.
Even more.
Game that's already got millions of particles.
I think Shadowmane's highlights the big issue though. It seems like some weapons just have like better rampage skills than others, so Shadowmane's doesn't necessarily have that exposure to rampage skills compared to someone that's like playing bow or playing dual blades or playing one of these other weapons that's got like rampage skills that are core to getting more damage or having a bit more fun or more of a unique playstyle. I think there are a couple of hunting horns that change songs and stuff like that, but I don't know if it's like crazy good or optimized way of like playing, or even just a fun way that changes your playstyle if it's just damage or defense.
Switch Axe has one that increases like the file status. There's one particular Switch Axe that goes from like, it's something like 25 exhaust to 45 exhaust with the ramp up, which is quite like a big bump for that, and makes it kind of nicer for like, you know, the stamina features and KOing and stuff. But you compare that to like Hellion, and it's like, oh, like you get 100% crit chance, and I get like 20 more status on my file. You know.
Yeah, some of the weapons you're gone.
I would say because you have some like, you know, I know you've got obvious ones that are like, you know, increase attack, but you could have something fun for like greatsword where it's like specifically as you're charging up like a true charge slash or as you're charging up a rage slash, you just get some like disgusting attack boost. There's just like a momentary one, which you could then have it so it becomes like active for like all of like 5 seconds, which should be quite fun because then it leans more into the way that you're playing the weapon. I think that's what I want to see. I want to see them leaning more into like they'll take I know there's always different ways to use weapons, but I feel like if there are ways that lean more heavily into that particular style, like let's say you can kind of Sword and Shield's got like a lot of KO potential these days because of obviously the shield bash stuff. Like if there was, I miss the days of of oils back in the day. Like if they could take sort of an element of that and put that on, because for example, you want a KO, you're using the hard basher combo. Imagine if there was a rampage skill which basically just added exhaust potential to drill slash, and suddenly you can just like KO with that. That's what I want to do. I want to do that because I feel like the rampage skills has potential to maybe drive people to other switch skills that maybe they're not using if they can be stanced in the right way.
Definitely, if they boost some of the mechanics and stuff like that. There's a couple of moves on weapons that have like silkbind skills that you don't use as much because there's a skill in that slot that is just so much better than the other one. So if they like had stuff that boost it or just change the mechanics around it or even reduce the silkbind cost, if there was one that was like, your rampage skill is -1 to this particular silkbind move, and it brought it down from 2 skills to 1. Like, I don't know if it was Metsu is already strong already, right? And is nuts.
Make it stronger.
Have you even been using the bomb strat?
Yeah, more power. I'm trying to master. I use the big bomb strat. I'm trying to master the throw the little bomb and like use it to just do it anywhere. I've done it a few times. I haven't done it consistently yet, but I now have small bombs as part of my.
Do you know if it scales off of the bombs or not?
No, the bomb is basically just a from my testing. It's basically just you just need to take an attack to be able to trigger the multi-hit basically on the way up. So it's not like a scaling thing. So yeah, I've been trying to do the like throw the bomb tech because that's just fun. But yeah, the big one, 100% on wake ups is tasty. You basically get guaranteed KO every single time.
Actually nutty. Actually nutty. I didn't realize like how crazy it was. But Shadow, you tried any other weapons, or are you just hunting horn like through and through now?
Right now, I am just hunting horn through and through. Though I think I've built most of the weapons so far, like just a few out of them because you need it for like your guild card. So I've gone through and done some of that. I just haven't started building sets around them yet. But I am going to try to experiment a little bit more with Rise than I did in World.
Nice.
Come to the Sword and Shield side. We will welcome you. The Church of Sword and Shield has its arms
Pure heal.
open.
I'm gonna make a pure heal sword and shield set. Do no damage the entire time.
That's what I like to hear.
Get out of here.
If you had like to rank the hunting horn from S tier to F tier, you know the tiers that I'm talking about. So A, B, C, D, E.
I know the tiers you're talking about. Yeah.
Where would you rank it?
S+ tier. It's
S+.
so good. It's above all the other weapons.
Whoa.
So that means that Sword and Shield needs to go S++ tier.
Oh my gosh. But the next topic of conversation is do you want to do Monster Hunter stories first, or do you want to do the other topic? We'll talk about Monster Hunter
stories.
Yeah, let's talk about stories first. So obviously Monster Hunter Stories comes out very soon. We're getting 2 Monster Hunter games in 1 year, and this is kind of like a completely different game from the core mechanics of like how you go about combat. So we wanted to discuss that, and it just looks awesome as well. It just looks like a fun time and whatever. I have never played Stories, so I'm probably going to sit out halfway this conversation and ask you guys what's going on with Stories and what's happening. But it'd be interesting to get your perspective, because I know Shadowmanes is a huge Monster Hunter Stories like fan, and he was campaigning for it to come back.
Man, I was memeing so hard, and then they went, "Oh yes, and we've got one more game, Stories 2," and I went, "No, you guys didn't. You did."
Stories are so good though, man. Like, honestly, like genuinely, to anyone that's like watching this that hasn't played Stories, you don't have to even go back on like 3DS. Like it does. I know a lot of people don't often like playing things on mobile, but it actually plays quite well on mobile because it's a turn-based game. You don't even need like that much. It's not like you're trying to play like actual Monster Hunter on mobile. It works really well. I played it like again on iPhone and really enjoyed it. So yeah, it's definitely something you can pick up. Like the first game still holds up nicely, but yeah, they're doing some really really cool new stuff with the second one. I'm just more excited the fact that the second one actually has some co-op for actual like open world gameplay. Because in the previous one, you could play battles, you could do like versus battles against someone, but to actually be able to explore the world is gonna be cool.
You know what I'm excited about? That we can actually upload videos. So last time we didn't have like a Monster Hunter Stories video on our channel, but because they released an anime at the same time, they are super on this copyright will take down your whole channel craziness. So this time we can actually upload that and share that experience. I think Alex did a full playthrough and we uploaded it for like a day or so, and people loved it, but we had to take it down like immediately because of that reason. So this time we can actually
the
do
Cap
videos.
Cops were coming for us.
The
They
Cap
were like,
Cops
we're
were coming.
gonna kill you. We're gonna lock you up. Like, no, please. Yeah. No, but I think
That's insane.
I definitely think it's and I think also it'd be an interesting entry point, because I've seen a lot of people on sort of social media have been like, oh, I haven't really kind of got into Monster Hunter before, but this one looks like although it's a very different experience, I could see a lot of people maybe that haven't necessarily played traditional Monster Hunter still giving this a try.
Yeah. Definitely. For me, more so, it was the one that was more appealing when they revealed the two. Just from an aesthetics like point of view from the beginning, but I'm always into like turn-based RPGs, and I think I'll probably really like this game. It depends on what the depth of the combat system's like, and if it's not just surface level, how close it is to like a Final Fantasy like system and all of that, because turn-based RPGs are just, I know people out there hate them because they're too slow, but for me it's I know Paradise likes them as well, right? So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm quite similar to you. I love the turn-based like Final Fantasy games. That's where like my love of it comes from. I've like you said, Arekkz, I've been playing the iOS version somewhat recently, and it does still hold up. And it's just really cool to be able to play that on your phone anywhere. You specifically mentioned like the depth of the combat, and I can't speak for like the complete like end game side of it, but Stories 1 at like so far for me hasn't been super deep in the combat. You have like the rock paper scissors mechanic of it, and there's nuances of the kinship gauge, and you have the skills on your different monsties you can choose to do, and you sort of want to counter what the enemy monster is doing by switching your own monstie to a monstie that like auto attacks of a countering type, like in the rock paper scissors like attack speed like technical triangle that the game has. But beyond that, there isn't like a terrible amount more. Like you just are constantly trying to beat them in like rock paper scissors, whereas in Stories 2 we've sort of come to learn that there's going to be this big emphasis on breaking parts where you can target the specific like different parts of the monsters. So like you do in the main series, you want to attack certain parts to like disable attacks or to like weaken that area. And I think that will correlate into Stories 2, where we may already know the monster, so you can make like a guess at if it's going to do like a speed attack or it's going to do a more powerful attack, depending on it, if it's like a Kulu Yaku or like maybe Anjanath. You can think like Anjanath's probably going to do a power attack because he's like a big powerful like dinosaur, whereas like a Kulu might do a technical with his rock or might do a speed attack because he's smaller and more agile. But now hitting those different parts just adds a bit more depth to it, which I think is really cool. You also have like the battle buddies coming in, which is like an AI companion that can like come alongside you. There still is the kinship stuff. I'm really excited to see that and like try out the new kinship moves on a lot of the like the monsters being added in, like Mitsune coming in. He's got like a really cool one that we briefly saw in one of the trailers. But other than that, I from the footage that we've seen, you still have the system where the way that it kind of works is you lock in all your attacks, and the monster that you're fighting will target someone, and whoever they're targeting, they'll go on like a head-to-head, which is kind of like where the rock paper scissors comes in. So if you beat them in the head-to-head, you get to like wallop them harder, and it builds up your kinship gauge more. Whereas if they beat you, that sort of is flipped back on you. But then to change topic a bit, like you said, I think the aesthetics, the style for Monster Hunter Stories 2 is looking really good. Like when they first showed it, I thought, wow, I actually wouldn't mind a main series game looking like this in this stylized format.
Yeah, that would be really cool. Definitely, yeah, 100%. I mean, like, I almost feel like even though they both have a similar feel to them, like Stories 1 and Stories 2, like definitely number 2 almost has even though it's still kind of got that anime slightly kid style aesthetic, I feel like it's marginally more mature than Stories 1. Character looks like slightly older stuff like that, so that was super cool. But going back to the combat depth as well, I think although combat on the surface level is pretty easy to kind of get your head around, obviously it's marketed that way and sort of made that way. I guess assuming they haven't spoken much about this for Stories 2 or anything at all, but much like in Stories 1, some of the complexity came in, or some of the depth, should I say, came in like the ability to sort of customize the moveset for your characters, because later on there was the ability to basically sort of take abilities from like one monster and give them to another monster that they wouldn't normally have, so then you could have some like ridiculous moves and stuff. I think there was like you could give Rajang like Kongalawa's fart or something. Just silly things like that basically, but you could just do some silly stuff. Why is that
the one thing that you remembered?
I don't know, man.
Didn't even remember the example where they got a Lagambi breathing fire. It's Rajang farting. That's what he remembers.
Let's be honest though, that would be really scary. Like Rajang is scary enough as it is, and he just sits over you. He's like, "Dot." But Shadowmanes, what about you? What are you most looking forward to in like number 2?
Oh my god, so many things. So I love all the characters so far that they've shown. I'm really excited to see like Lilia and Roberto come back, and I'm really excited to see like how they're going to end up playing into the story. And basically, I'm really interested in how the story is just going to go anyway, because it looks like it might end up just getting crazy. But yeah, the combat looks it looks so much better than the first game. It looks like they took everything that worked from Stories 1 and then it just fully expanded on it in Stories 2. So like Paradise was talking with the the part breaking there. That was actually in Stories 1, but it was more on like boss monsters, or you were fighting like the monsters who were infected, or whatever it was. And it looks like here in Stories 2 that they've expanded it to just be included in everything. And it looks like they expanded it to where it's just like it's a supernatural thing, just a quick button press and you get to pick, and it's it looks nice. The UI for it all doesn't look cluttered, which I'm really excited for, because that was definitely a worry of mine. And then just all the locations and the new monsters that they're going to be bringing. I mean, we've seen in the trailer they've got like Nergiganti coming back, coming into the game. The website shows like Royal Ludroth. You've got I ended up finding earlier, they have a Monobolos just kind of chilling in the back. It's like everything that I would want from like a fun, just kind of relaxing Monster Hunter game. I think this is what we're gonna end up getting with Stories 2, and I'm really excited for it and can't wait.
So what made Stories 1 so good? Because you've been gassing this to me, like you haven't sold me on this. You're just talking about pretty colors, some monsters, and a chill story.
So,
I'm like RPG.
What makes Story 1 so fun is it's just like, it really is. It's just an all around chill experience. I mean, you get like the RPG stuff, you get the Monster Hunter stuff. It just lore dumps a bunch of stuff onto you. It builds a story within this universe that generally you just kind of like, main series games, you kind of get like, we gotta protect nature. Nergiganti's the great balancer. He destroys all the elder dragons who are trying to destroy nature. And Stories just takes it, and it's like, well, you got these characters that you can invest in. You've got these, these situations that you can actually build yourself up for and try to work through. And it's just that's what I really like about the Story series, is it takes the Monster Hunter formula, it flips it on its head, and then it makes it engaging in a completely different way than the main series game that still makes it feel like fresh, but also still keeps it within the Monster Hunter universe.
Okay,
let me just add to that. Let me just add to that before your question. Okay. There's two things that are very specific about Stories, whether you like it or not. You have like the Pokemon side where you're collecting monsters, you're training them up. Okay, obviously, if you like certain monsters, like say Tigrex is your favorite.
Did you say
right?
Pokemon?
Yeah, so it's the same sort of formula. You build a party of monsters. You're switching them in and out. They all have different moves that they do that counter other monsters. If you have a favorite monster that is like from the main series game, you probably are going to be able to get that. As your main leader, like your start. And so and then there's another layer on top of it, okay, is that at least in Stories 1, when you go out to a nest, you grab an egg, so you have to you go through the trial and tribulations to get the egg and keep it safe, and then you make it out of the nest. Then you got to go back, okay, and you got a little loot box waiting for you in that egg, and you got to tap it open. It gets a few different buffs if you're lucky, and then you get the reveal of what monster you get. So you have almost this loot box way of getting your monster, and you don't know what you're gonna get. Is it gonna be a good one, a bad one? You know, did you get really lucky? Are the stats really good, and all that kind of stuff that goes into it? So that side of things, which is like a Pokemon like breeder side of things, when you get to like end game in Pokemon, I feel like that is quite a lure for some people as well.
Yeah, it's a lure for you. That's what you love. You love gacha. You love gacha games.
No. I like having like the RNG elements, but I don't like when it's paid to it.
It's more like Digimon. You remember that old school little square Digimon where like you didn't know what would happen until you. Yeah.
Cool.
And you always got the slug.
Yeah. No, I got the big guy, the Angel Mon or whatever it is.
No, yeah, I swear I've told this story before, but I'm gonna tell it again so people can share in my pain, right? I used to have the best Digimon on that thing, which was Metal Greymon, who fired rockets, right? During the little when you could link up, he fired rockets, right? But during school, at one lunchtime, he got confiscated. The teacher held it until the end of the day, so I missed his feeding window. And then when I got it back at the end of the day, he died in front of me, and I never got him again. After that, I always got the slug. Can we get an F in chat for Metal Greymon, please? I was
you know there was a cheese
old.
back in the day, like you know the plastic bit that used to come with a Digimon. This is some real boomer talk right here, right? I am 33. I am old. No, I'm 32.
You were about to say.
I'm just adding numbers on. If you put the plastic back into like the actual Digimon, like in a certain way, like really quickly, you could get it to kind of like glitch out and just give you the Digimon that you wanted. So you could get like any Digimon, and you could just go into fights and the cheese stuff. But yeah, the question I had, which is an important one, is, and I think it's one of the most important ones because this is super like my thing in games. What? It's called Monster Hunter Stories. What is the story saying? Please tell me it's good. If it's dead,
so
it looks good. It looks good.
The story from the first one was good. Yeah, the story in the first one was really good, but the story in this one, it doesn't look like they've really. It really looks like they've just kind of touched on surface level things. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be really good.
Okay, could you give me like a quick, a quick overview of like what the story was without spoiling anything for Paradise, because he's probably like halfway through. Like, what was the concept or synopsis?
Of the first one?
Yeah, of the first one. I'm not gonna ask you about the second one. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. So like the quick 30-second, it's not even going to be 30-second, but like the quick lowdown on the first one is basically you are part of a rider village who kind of doesn't trust hunters. They keep themselves secluded. They keep themselves hidden. And there's this sickness that's kind of like spreading. Like this it's infecting something like certain monsters. It's basically making them rampage. It's basically making them, just not act like what normal monsters would do, and it's causing populations to kind of be pushed into places that they wouldn't normally be. And one of these monsters, it's like the beginning of the game, one of these monsters attacks the village, and then after that it's just you, your monsties, Naviru, who's also going to be in stories too for some reason. You guys kind of like go out on an adventure.
It's the cat.
That is, yeah, that's the Palico. Yeah,
people hate that cat. I love it. The more cheesy they get,
I liked him in the first one, but I don't like the voice that they've had for the second one, because you kind of hear him in the trailer and it just sounds like this weird "let's go." This is so off-sounding.
The more triggered that people get by like a mascot, so like Paimon, Tama, all that.
Oh, Tama is the worst.
It makes me love them even more, dude.
You know what though? He's got a totally different personality from Stories 1 and from the Stories anime. Like he's almost like he's basically like two different characters, but is literally the same character. So I think people hate him because he's like one way in the anime, even though in the game he's a different way, or like vice versa, depending on their like preference.
He sounds good, man.
It's funny.
I'm ready for that.
Yeah, it's going to be good. I don't want to spoil any more of like Stories 1, but you basically go out to try to find out what the cause of all of this is, and it leads from one thing to another.
This isn't a spoiler because it happens in the first 1 minute of like playing Stories.
Yeah, the very beginning.
Paradise.
Like Shadowmane's
Paradise. Basil Geese.
I will say nothing.
How could you spoil the beginning of this 4 or 5-year-old game?
Sasuke. You can't
it's like oh. What happens at the
it's
end
got
of
its
Lord
own
of the Rings?
version of Sasuke.
Exactly. Monster Hunter Stories is just Naruto, right? You can't tell about Sasuke, right? Sasuke, go and leave the village. Don't let people know that.
Well, I can summarize like what appears to be the story for Stories 2 from the trailers. Is that what it looks like anyway? If you watch the trailers, is you have this prophecy that these the hunters, the riders have, where there's this special Rathalos that has like different wings, when it comes, well, no wings, but when it comes of age, it gets its wings, and it is like a apocalypse level event where once this like special Rathalos flaps its wings, it's like the end of the world. It's like Armageddon sort of thing.
Do you think they will say Wings of Ruin in the game?
Yes, absolutely.
I think so. I think
How
I can
many-
see it
100%.
Do you think
If
they'll
it's
drop
not
it?
said within the first 5 minutes, I'm going to be disappointed.
Shout out to that old cliche. I'm ready to see that.
Oh dear.
So,
It's gonna be good.
So for the last topic of today, talking about our Digimon and using cheats to get any Pokemon or Digimon that we want, we're going to go on to the hot topic of the week that the community is talking about. Not many of you might know about this, but there is a technique called Save Scumming. I've put a little spin on it, but it's not actually called that. It's called Save Scumming. And it's not. It sounds worse than it actually is. But maybe Paradise can explain this one for the audience.
So there's layers, there's some depth to this topic because I think everyone's going to have a different opinion, to be honest. The overall level of like, so save scumming in general is like if you're playing Skyrim and you save the game like every like couple minutes, because if you make one mistake you could like revert back to your save and it's like no consequences, right? For Rise specifically, it is, people are referring it to like a way to make talisman farming easier. It's got something to do with saving before you like use all your resources for talismans, and then reverting back if you didn't like what you got, and like resetting it and trying again. Basically, the layers to this topic are, if you're like us, where we play the games so much, I have an overabundance of materials. So for me, it wouldn't even like, it doesn't even come into my mind as worth doing because I have enough materials to literally make hundreds more talismans. It's just a matter of farming, like queuing them up and then doing the hunts to get them like filled out and to open them. But then you have like the other side where you have a more casual player who spends like hours farming materials. Maybe their hunts are like much longer, like average time to complete, so it's like exponentially more difficult to like queue up all the talismans. For someone like that, obviously, getting your like materials back if you just get all rubbish talismans is going to be nice, especially considering a player that is more casual in that way. They would really benefit from a really good talisman, if they are struggling through the game. So I can see why like that kind of player would be more lucrative to them. I think overall just cheating is not really like, it's not cheating because you're literally just like saving and loading, but it's kind of a bit in that gray area, I don't think anyone should cheat, but it's a PvE game. Like it's like some people play it completely solo on their own. So ultimately I think like if you're not harming anyone, play the game the way that you enjoy it. Like, if they have some way to detect it, like fair, you might get like in trouble for that. I doubt that you would, to be honest. So I don't know. I think a person like us that plays it loads, I don't even think it like changes anything. Like we don't.
It's too much effort a lot of the time. Let's be honest. Especially on something like Switch, the process to go about doing that anyway is super long-winded. Like everything on Switch is just a little bit like long anyway, right? But I mean, I think you raised the point. If it's in games like Skyrim where you can literally be like, okay, cool, load save, kind of do that sort of thing, then you're like, all right, cool, fair enough. But otherwise, it's just a bit like I don't really see the point, to be honest. Like again, like, just to be clear, like if no qualms if people do it. If someone wants to do it, like it's your game, like do whatever you want. Like it doesn't hurt anyone. It's not like back in the day, like in 4 Ultimate, where what you had to be careful where there were people that were actually hacking the game. Where like if you would join them, you could get like, I can't remember the specifics, but there were things like, oh, if you join them and then you could get things in your rewards, and if you got the item, it would just like boost your hunter rank astronomically or something. And people were like, I didn't even want to encounter this. And like some people were like, because they were like in your lobbies, you physically couldn't avoid them. But this is just like, yeah, if you're doing that, then that's on you. Yeah, I can't. Like for me, I think the only game in my life I've ever done that a couple of times was in Neo when I was playing Neo 2, and only because I was playing it super casually and I was like, I just want this lightning element on my weapon. And I got screwed over by all the items in the game, literally. Right, and I just wanted it because I saw this build, and people were like, "If you use this build, you never die." And I was like, "I just need thunder on my weapon." I didn't even get it. This is the thing. I did it like 10 times, 20 times. I was like, "This is boring. This is long." And then afterwards, I just got the weapon to drop, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, people get really intense about like how other people do stuff in PvE games. While I can see that you might get annoyed because somebody's got like something more than you, in Monster Hunter, if they've got more than you, then it probably means they're going to get into a hunt and help you. It might, if it gets out of hand, like overrun the game with like everybody using broken talismans. But even if you're people using broken talismans, I don't think it breaks the game as like a whole anyway. I don't feel like people should be... I can understand why people are angry. I don't think people should be as mad as they need to be about anything to do with like having an advantage in the game. I wouldn't recommend you go out and do save scumming at all, and doing that because you're eating away at the chase. The whole thing that keeps you playing is getting those talismans and trying to that god roll being out there. So not having that and just kind of rolling through and getting it is going to decrease your enjoyment out of the game. But that's on you. If you want to enjoy, if that's how you enjoy the game, then calm to you. Like, I don't have a problem with you, but I'm just making you aware that you are getting rid of the chase. So you might have less hours in the game, and you're going to spend your hours in the game doing it, just loading in and out. So I don't know. That's up to you. It's not even like getting materials is hard.
Yeah, there's this thing in gacha games, like particularly like gacha mobile games. Brief summary of gacha games is you have like characters of different rarities. The higher rarity ones are really, really rare to get. You usually have to like pay to win to brute force your way to get that character. That's basically what a gacha game is, right? There's a really popular thing that like I would say the majority of people who play those games do, where it's called re-rolling, which is where you start the game, you play through the tutorial, you get the first like pull that you can have. Like if you think about Genshin, you get like a 10 pull, right? You do the 10 pull. Do you get the character you like or not? No. Well, then just like delete and then go through the tutorial again and try again. And it's kind of like a similar, to me, like it's kind of similar. Like you're queuing up your talismans, you get what you like or not.
It's the same thing.
You load it back. So in other gaming communities, that is a very acceptable thing, and that is something that people teach each other to do because they want you to get the best character, right? But I do think you're right that you are talisman chasing as the end game right now. So if you have like the best talismans, especially if you got them like non-legitimately, then all you have left is really to just like beat the monsters, because like you've kind of like will have the perfect talisman is the chase. So
I heard that.
But then you got like someone like me. I farm a lot of talismans, and I've got nothing good.
Hey, but at least you're getting all those talismans to put back into the melder, right? See,
very true.
Exactly.
True.
Hey, Shadowmaze, I heard that you're number one save scummer. Is that you?
Number one save scummer. Not here. Not going to be found here. No, I don't know. I think I'm in much of the same area. I don't really care if people save scum, at least in a game like Monster Hunter, just because, yeah, you are kind of killing your own enjoyment there if that's what you're doing. Unless you're a speedrunner and your entire goal is to try to build the most optimal sets to min-max your way through monsters as quick as you can. But yeah, other games I am definitely guilty of save scumming. Like a lot of RPGs, if I'm trying to make certain situations happen, and like I want to do something stealthily and I just keep messing it up, I'm like, all right, well now I got to restart the whole thing, or now I got to go back to this, or I'm constantly pressing the quick save button. So you like
That's
look at my
yeah,
constantly looking at like my list, and I've got like 30 quick saves from just like the last 10 minutes alone because I'm just trying to work through this really quickly. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. If you want to go through that process of save scumming, do it. I'm not gonna look at you any differently than somebody who doesn't do it, because I just don't care. It's not cheating. I view it differently as opposed to like when World first came out in PC, and then within like the first week you had all those people who were using like the one shot like mods and stuff like that. Like that's where I start taking problem with people doing, cheating, popping into the multiplayer and just ruining the enjoyment of the game. But save scumming doesn't. Yeah, you can save scum all day, and that's not affecting me. So I don't really understand people getting angry about it. I could understand maybe a little bit annoyed, but beyond that, I don't understand like the whole controversy around it.
You're talking about mods. Like there are mods for this game as well. Like there are people that can just mod in like whatever decoration or like talisman they want anyway, and people playing on like emulators at 60 frames. So you get people are gonna have the advantage as well, but. The only time that's going to impact something is if like you're putting up times on like speed runs or doing something like competitive, which the game isn't built around anyway. So all of that stuff has its own rules, but like all of that stuff really works on a morality system and a trust system, like trust that people are not cheating or trust that people are not doing anything. So all of that stuff is like policed by that community and like what they kind of like really do anyway. So it doesn't really impact anybody if people do save scum stuff, and there's been like worse methods is basically what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing. It's like ultimately if it would be a very different thing if the game is competitive. Like when the game is competitive, then you have an edge over other people. Otherwise it's just like play your game, have fun. It's not that deep.
What about that? You know what is the funniest thing as well? Like people actually thought that Arekkz hacked in a gem because he tweeted a stupid post on Twitter. People actually believed it. They were like, "How did you get this? Like, actually show this thing." And I don't know how people fell for it. It was like the funniest thing.
It was so obviously
I'll get the picture. I'll get the picture for the edit. But like, I wanted to make sure people knew that it was obviously Photoshop. So I made it weakness exploit level 6. Now, if you play the game, it doesn't go beyond level 3. I had attack boost level. I think I had attack boost. No, in fact, I made attack boost level 7, but I put an extra dot there to make it look like I wasn't quite maxed out. So it's attack boost 8, right? But then I also had my 1 point in item prolonger as well, right? Just to balance it all out. So I had a bit of a random skill there. And people were like, "How is this?" I was like, "Oh no, I'm sorry."
Content creator luck.
Yeah. But the next day I was like, I this is how I did it, and then I put the Photoshop up so people knew.
Well, they should.
I'm not gonna lie, it got me. Yeah, it kind of got me at first too, because I was scrolling through really quickly and I just kind of like caught a glimpse of it and went back. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, what? Like, what? And then I realized what it was, and I was like, oh, this is clearly a joke post. Keep going, but it was just business, like when you scroll really quickly, it's funny.
Yeah, I should set up a business Photoshop melding just for. If you guys want to make you a attack boost 17. Don't worry.
Arekkz special, innit? You can have the Arekkz special like engraved on the gem as well. He's got
just put me as like a little shady like vendor in the corner of Kimura Village, like right down by the docks, right in one of the boats. Like, hello, I see you want a talisman. Yes,
what you selling? What you buying?
We just open up Photoshop. I got you.
Oh my gosh. I think that's it for this week, isn't it, Alex? I don't know.
I think so. I think we're pretty much it. I think obviously, if you guys have got other things you want us to discuss, let us know. We are of course getting very close now. We are basically midway through May. The Japanese Twitter account dropped a tweet today. Well, actually not today because we're recording today. By the time you guys see it, a few days ago, just as a kind of reminder. It's basically them just saying, hey, don't forget, there's the May update is coming. Get ready for the culmination of the story and stuff. So the fact they're tweeting out stuff is probably confirmation that hopefully in the next couple of weeks we should be getting something. So if anything like date wise. If we're looking at like it dropped like Wednesday last time, then we might be looking at like the 26th, 27th this month. That could be kind of cool. But yeah, otherwise that's
wait. The question of the day is, I want to see your wacky event quest ideas. I'm not talking about, I just want more talismans in my quest. I want a little bit more, I don't know, this monster. I want to see some wacky ideas that take a spin on the core mechanics and put them in so that we can have a really fun fight. Not just bigger, smaller monsters, which are pretty cool. Maybe numerous bigger, smaller monsters or something like that. Or just something that's a proper event when it actually drops in game. So let us know.
Can I suggest one?
Go on then.
Right, a giant Pteranodon, like super big. Right, I'm currently in the background of recording. I'm staring at the Frost Islands because I'm looking at this edit, and I can, the big open area in the Frost Islands where the water is, where Barioth is often. Pteranodon is so big that he fills up that space. But you know how Pteranodon spits out water? Instead of spitting out water, he then spits out small Pteranodons.
You know what? I've got an idea as well. I think that's a very good idea, Alex. But I think my idea is that we should have an event quest called Arekkz Gaming, but it's just your bald head that we hunt. How about that?
Bum, 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 bum. And then, but wait, upon completion of the quest, you actually, upon completing the quest, you actually get a beard.
You actually get a beard. That'd be sick.
Wow.
Let's go. Capcom, make it happen. There we go.
You know what event quest I want? I'm going to throw my idea out there. I want it. We call bowling pins, and basically you're going to fight a load of miniature Lagombis that are just sliding around the place.
Oh, of course it would be. Shadowmanes, what about you? What's your wacky event quest idea?
I want an event quest where it's kind of like the tower system, where you start at the bottom and you fight some weaker monsters, and they just gradually get harder, and you have to survive as long as you can. And then when you win, it just gives you a random layered armor piece.
That would be sick.
Or it gives you a wide range talisman.
But Paradise Lagombi idea is like really good. It's like, imagine if it wasn't like you actually hunted the Lagombi, you just went in, there was bowling pins, and you hit the Lagombi into some bowling pins, like, and it was like, you only get one shot.
Wait, but you could actually do that because you could hit the Bombaggies and send them flying. It should be Bombaggies, and you have to
Bombaggy
hit them
bowling.
Go,
There you go.
Bombaggy bowling. There we go.
Capcom, we're giving you ideas. You can have these for free. It's fine. But yeah, there we have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the discussion. Again, thank you for Shadowmanes for joining us. If you guys want to check out his content, whether that be streams, videos, or his social media, all the links will be down below. And catch you guys in the next one.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget, if you haven't already done so, you can join the Arekkz Gaming Discord. We've got an awesome community over there with so many different channels for you to chat loads of different topics and different games. I'm in there, the team's in there. If you guys want to chat with us, find people to play with, it's just in general a great place to be. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to turn on those notifications so you don't miss any of our future uploads.